There really is something for everyone and an atmosphere like no other. It's the unexpected. I think that's what every night at the Fringe or every day at the Fringe can give you, is just that jolt of something just so out of the blue. Edinburgh, because of the size of it, it encourages people to take those risks.
You've just become an ambassador of the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. What made you say yes?
Well, I'm asked to do a lot of things, being a patron or whatever. And when I was asked to be an ambassador of the Fringe, I did think, actually, I ought to do that because I really do, one, owe my career to the Edinburgh Fringe, but also in the last few years, I've just fallen in love with it again. And it's kind of an annual pilgrimage now up to the festival. So I thought, yeah, I do want to represent the Fringe and tell people how amazing it is.
When you think of the Fringe, what's the first memory or feeling that comes to mind?
To be honest, my first impression of the Fringe when I heard about it was I should never go because it just sounds so overwhelming. You read all those stats about this many thousands of shows and da-da, and I just thought, how do you get your head around that? And so the first time I went was as a performer, and that was when I realized what it actually is and how kind of user-friendly it is when you're actually on the ground.
Why do you think the Fringe and its values still matter so much, especially now?
Because it's one of the few places that, for whatever might be right or wrong, it is pretty egalitarian. Anyone can rock up at the Fringe and do their thing. And I think there are very few spaces where that's true. And it's somewhere where you could really discover an audience and build an audience in a way that you can't anywhere else.
You started out in stand-up comedy. What did those early days teach you that still sticks?
I suppose doing stand-up in Edinburgh, the great thing was that people had come to see you. When you're doing stand-up on the circuit and there's 3 people on a bill, and they've really just come to see comedy and they can decide to hate you if they want to. Whereas if you've invested an hour of your time to go and see this bloke, you're kind of willing him to be better than maybe he is. So I suppose that's what Edinburgh gave me, was the luxury of relaxing and be able to tell stories, do things that took more time. You didn't have that kind of rat-a-tat rate of people, people might walk out or start talking or go to the bar.
Live performance can be exhilarating and terrifying. What do you love the most about it?
I mean, live performance is something that, even though my show is taped, there's still an audience there. And that's the brilliant bit, is the audience. And when I was doing my Edinburgh shows, I did an awful lot of audience interaction, chatting to people in the audience. And, I still like doing that as an audience member. I dread it. But it's still where a lot of the funny in Edinburgh will reside, is that kind of that thing that only happened this afternoon. It won't happen again.
What makes a great night out at the Fringe for you?
For me, a great night at the Fringe is just seeing the unexpected, taking a punt on something and being blown away or being horrified or swearing to never do that again. It's the unexpected. I think that's what every night at the Fringe or every day at the Fringe can give you, is just that jolt of something just so out of the blue. Even if you think you know what you're going to see, often, no, it is not.
Why do you think audiences love discovering something unexpected at the Fringe?
I mean, I think now when I go to the Fringe as an audience member, there is a kind of a collective thing. It's like kind of panning for gold. Everyone's looking for, oh wow, I saw that thing. And there was nobody there, but you must go because it was so amazing. And it's that sense of discovery and kind of almost ownership. I love it when, 5-6 years later, I'm seeing someone in the West End or on TV and thinking, yeah, I saw that. I said they were good. And I think that's what everyone loves, is just finding that kind of undiscovered gem.
When you're at a festival, are you a planner or a wander and see person?
When I performed at the Fringe, I was absolutely a wanderer and never really went to see anything. I did my own show and that was it. Now I am very much a planner. But and I think you have to be, really. I think you need to know, okay, we're doing this, then we've got enough time to get there to do that. Let's have a break for dinner, let's have a break for some drinks, let's see some friends. But planning doesn't mean safe. Don't book people you've already seen. Don't book things you know you're going to enjoy. Go through that program and, take a punt on something. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I saw a show called Texts from My Dead Friends. And none of my friends wanted to see it. But I thought that title was engaging. And it turned out it was one of the best things I've ever seen. I loved it.
The Fringe is known for its open access and inclusivity principles. How important is that in the arts?
I mean, I think the great thing about the Edinburgh Festival is that it is completely inclusive. There's no real barrier to anyone going there. If you've got a show, you will find a space, maybe you'll find, no, I was going to say find an audience. Not everyone will find an audience, but there's a chance you could. And I think that's what makes it so thrilling, is that there's no one is putting this program together, no one's curating it. It's just things being thrown at the great big showbiz wall and see what sticks.
What do events like the Fringe offer that television or streaming simply can't?
Television and streaming, it seems to me, you can see amazing things on television and streaming. But I think the difference between that and the festival is there are gatekeepers. There's somebody in a suit somewhere saying, I think you're going to like this, here it is. Whereas at the Fringe, that does not happen. It's all there for you to discover. And it's a really different way of approaching art, approaching entertainment. And I just love how mad that might be. Things an executive will not know that I was going to enjoy a show called Texting My Dead Friends or Text from My Dead Friends. But it turns out I did. And I think that's the great thing about the Fringe. You are your own programmer. You are your own artistic director. You plan your own festival.
How would you describe the Fringe to someone who's never been before?
I'm afraid all I can say, you can't. The only thing you can say is go. Just go. And it may not be for you, but I think, I can't imagine someone going and not finding anything they enjoyed. There really is something for everyone and an atmosphere like no other.
The Fringe is famous for taking risks, whether you're an audience member going to see something new or you're an artist trying out a new show. Why do you think taking risks is so important to creativity?
One, it's the reason why you're in the business. You don't want to be safe because people aren't really interested in that. But also, I think, particularly with the Edinburgh Festival, taking risks is actually a way of standing out. Because, if you're just so-and-so live, I might go and see that. Whereas if it's, so-and-so juggles live goldfish or something, you're more likely to buy a ticket because you're going to think, well, I wonder what that looks like. So I think, in a way, Edinburgh, because of the size of it, it encourages people to take those risks and to do kind of more interesting things, stranger things, things that on the face of it probably aren't a good idea, but often turn out to be a great idea.
What advice would you give to someone bringing their first show to the Fringe?
I mean, if someone was bringing their first show to the Fringe, I don't know what advice I'd give them. Rest before you go and pace yourself. I think, that it should be fun. You should have a great time at the festival, but don't have too good a time. And choose your time of day carefully. I feel like performing too early in the day is a recipe for disaster.
We've seen a lot of artists make the leap from the Fringe to broadcast, yourself, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Richard Gadd. How important is it to have the TV industry and the TV festival in Edinburgh at the same time?
The fact that the TV festival kind of is part of the Fringe Festival, or there at the same time, from my point of view, it couldn't have been more important. I mean, that is how I got my break into broadcasting. And I think it's a kind of what's good about it is they feed off each other. if you know what I mean. It's great for the performers that all these TV executives, producers, creators come to Edinburgh, but equally it's great for the TV people that they get to go to this one-stop shop. And also because it's later in the festival, by then, the people have spoken. That's a hit, that's amazing, that's not so good, don't bother with that. And so it's been kind of filtered down. I always think, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she could still be doing a show above a pub in Islington, waiting for someone to discover her. But Edinburgh just fast tracks all of that because you're exposed to so many people at the same time. So I think it'd be madness for the TV festival to move.
As an ambassador, what are you most excited to champion about the Fringe?
As an ambassador, I suppose I just want to champion the range of shows that are there and the fact that you can see high art, low art, and everything in between. For me, that's the most exciting thing about the Fringe, that you can see, just a classic Shakespeare, or you can see, someone chewing their own foot in a bath. It's all there.